Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. Now, I've personally lost over 100 pounds, and I've applied what I've learned from my own transformation journey to help my hometown clients lose over 35,000 pounds in just 5 years. Now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by delivering my best weekly tips, motivation, inspirational stories, and transformation strategies so that you can gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. And the perfect time to start taking action is right now. So let's do this. This episode is sponsored by you, my friends. I want to be able to keep cranking out 3 high-quality episodes each week, and I need your support to make that happen. Now, you can help support the show by becoming one of my Patreon patrons. Now, by pledging $1 a month, that's 8 cents an episode, and I'm going to earn it, by gosh. It's going to make a huge difference for both me and the show. If you pledge over $6 a month, you're going to get access to my Million Pound Mission live page where I do live follow-along workouts, live mobility sessions, live Q&A sessions, and even a few live podcast episodes. And all of your Patreon support dollars go directly towards paying for my new podcast production team. And they are the people that are helping me produce 3 high-quality episodes every week. Now, we need to raise around $500 a month to pay for those services. And you can check my Patreon page to see where our current monthly donation total is at. So it's all out there in the open. And it's kind of cool that you can see that build up. Now, currently, we're only at about $30 a month. So I do need your help. I'm going in the hole every single month, and I can't keep doing that. So if you can support the show, I'm going to earn that $1, all right? And to get more info on how you can support the show, just go to millionpoundmission.com, millionpoundmission.com, and click on the Support the Mission link at the top of the page. Your support is so important to me, and I'm very grateful, my friends. Thank you. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy, Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 126, Keto for Women with Shawn Mynar. Now, I've been getting lots and lots of questions about how keto is going to impact the female body differently than the male body. So I went out, as always, and I found us an expert to help enlighten us all. Now, Shawn Mynar is a nutritional therapy practitioner. She's a restorative wellness practitioner, a certified personal trainer, a real foodie, and passionate health seeker. She's also the host of the Keto For Women Show, which is one of my favorite new podcasts to check out and listen to. I encourage you all to check that out as well. And I want you to check out this episode as Shawn and I dive into how she personally reclaimed her own health through a ketogenic lifestyle, the different types of situations that females need to be aware of compared to males when they're doing the ketogenic diet, the big mistakes that people are making with keto right now, and her best advice for somebody that is dealing with health issues and is ready to heal themselves through a ketogenic lifestyle. You are going to love this episode, especially you ladies out there. This is going to be a home run for you. Shawn really delivers. So without further ado, here's episode number 126, Keto for Women with Shawn Mynar. All right, Shawn, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How are you doing today, my friend?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm great. It's a beautiful day finally here in Boulder. It's been kind of snowy and rainy and all this stuff that spring brings. And now we finally have sun. So I'm feeling good. How about you?
Good. I'm psyched to have you. I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of your show. And I'm really, really excited to pick your brain on keto, specifically for women. So before we get into that, before we dive into all the list of questions and ideas that I want to cover, I know that you have your own story of transformation and finding your health. So I wanted to see if you could dive into your own personal story a little bit and introduce yourself to my audience.
Yes, of course. So I'm Shawn Mynar. I am a holistic nutritionist based out of Boulder, Colorado, although my help, I guess, that I bring to people is worldwide, as you know, for sure. It's how we roll around here in these podcast parts. Yes. But yeah, so I became a holistic nutritionist, as many people do, because of my own health struggles. Like, I had to figure it out for myself. And then as soon as I did, it was like this light bulb. It's like, I just have to tell everybody. Like everybody needs to know this information as soon as possible. And so that was the route that it took. But it started back in 2008. I was diagnosed with my first autoimmune disease, ulcerative colitis. And for a while, a couple years, I was taking the medications, doing what the doctor told me to do, kind of going through the motions, and things were okay, but not that great. You know, there were still symptoms and nothing was going into remission. So finally it came to a day where I was at the doctor and he's like, no, you're just taking these pills for the rest of your life. Like, and I asked about diet. Diet had nothing to do with it. He didn't want me to change anything. And I just couldn't take that information as truth. I just felt in my gut that something was not right with that. So literally went home that night, turned to Dr. Google, and like within an hour found hundreds of stories of people with autoimmune disease getting into remission by changing what they were eating. And so what I found through that research was that a paleo style template was a really good place to start, eliminating those inflammatory foods and like grains and dairy and sugar and that kind of thing. So went that route, literally the next day, just completely cleaned out my cupboard, started over, and I got really good results. I not only did I see improvement in my autoimmune disease and those symptoms, but also just in the way I felt, in the way I looked, and my body composition and energy, just everything was really going well. And that's kind of when I started this path to become a nutritionist, because I was like, oh my gosh, everyone can feel this great, and all you have to do is eat a little bit differently. I need to tell everybody. So that started that. And then, during that whole time that I was kind of transitioning into being a nutritionist and going through school, I started to not feel so great again. So in this case, it was just, these random symptoms that I couldn't explain, like intense brain fog, crazy fatigue, like not able to get out of bed for an entire day, joint pain, and I'm a super active person. I was a former personal trainer. I just couldn't do anything basically. Right. And I was gaining weight rapidly with no change in diet or activity. Just, a lot of unexplained symptoms that I could not put my finger on. It didn't make sense. And so this led me then to a huge tunnel of trial and error of trying to figure out what was going on. And, lots of doctors and practitioners finally figured out that it was actually due to toxic mold exposure, that I was having these symptoms, and that like it was kind of taking over my life, and my body couldn't detox properly from this exposure, and it was causing inflammation, yada, yada. So quite a large protocol to go through to detox your body from that. But for me, because I was a nutritionist at the time, I knew enough about a ketogenic diet to know that basically all the symptoms I was dealing with could at least be somewhat improved by going keto. Like the brain, like if I could get some more mental clarity, some more energy, right. If I could work on the weight that I had gained so quickly, then I would be at least feeling better during this protocol. And so that led me then from I was doing paleo for those years and feeling pretty good until the spiral downward. And then it led me into keto. And then that was over a year and a half ago, and it completely changed my life. Like obviously for the better, but it got my life back and what I remember feeling, and actually better than I've ever felt, to be honest. So it was kind of a whirlwind of a time, but thank God.
Yeah. I think that a lot of the best leaders, or the up and coming leaders in our industry in health and human performance and longevity, it seems like they have that personal story where yes. They were impacted and then they make a change. And not to say that some of that goes to school and is just inspired to go to school, without that isn't good or anything like that. But I feel like it adds that extra level as a coach to connect with somebody and be like, listen, I've been there, Oh,
absolutely. Yes. And I have a lot of clients that just understand that I was at rock bottom and worked my way up. So I understand what rock bottom feels like. And I understand like how, it's hard to be patient. It's hard to have all those, to try to stay positive during that time. And so coaching through that too is also super important. You have to have that, you almost have to have that experience to know what it's like. Right. And that personal experience is invaluable. Just to being able to say that you've been there. That's a huge thing. I've had a lot of people, like I've helped 15 people lose over 100 pounds from my hometown. It's amazing.
Just from my hometown. And the fact that they can't give me an excuse that I haven't personally experienced.
Right.
You know, I weigh 327 pounds too. I know what it's like to open up a bag of cookies and not be able to stop eating.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So it makes a huge difference. And it's definitely to our advantage. So let's dial it back to when you get that initial diagnosis with the doctors basically telling you you just need to be on medicine for the rest of your life, and that nutrition didn't have anything to do with it. Like that mindset frustrates me so much.
Oh, God.
Do you feel like things are changing in the health industry? Do you feel like there's a new wave of people being more open-minded about nutrition, or do you feel like it's still pretty bad?
You know, sometimes I think that because of the surroundings that I'm in and the community that I'm in with keto and getting more doctors on board with that. But then I hear story after story after story of clients coming to me and not getting any help from their doctor. And it's so sad. So I'd like to say yes, but if so, it's super slowly, like really slowly. And, you know, there's nothing against doctors at all as far as nutrition goes, because they're not taught that. And not only that, their job is to find whatever the symptom is, find a way to make you feel better from that symptom. Whereas in this holistic approach that I promote and really see helping people, you've got to dig, you've got to find that root cause, which is kind of, you know, it started way back then when my doctor told me that, and I was like, no, that's not right. You know, I didn't really know, but I had this instinct. And I think a lot of people have that instinct when they go to their doctors and they talk for 5 minutes at most. They're given a prescription and you have absolutely no answers. You still don't know what's going on with your body. Like, yeah, you can take this pill and it might make you feel a little better. It's also probably going to cause a lot of other things in your body that weren't there before, but you can take it. But there's no answers. And I like to get answers. I think that makes all the difference.
Yeah. I always laugh when I see like the pharmaceutical commercials and they list all, like, it'll be some like terrible disorder or whatever. And then it's like, here's the cure. And then it does the thing at the end where it's like, may cause, you know, like brain explosions and death and, you know, disaster pants. And I just start laughing and my wife's like, why are you laughing? This is terrible. I'm like, it's hilarious because why would you want to take this? So
bad.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you have the Keto For Women Show. That's your podcast. And I've been deep diving on keto for the last 4 months now. I've been following a keto lifestyle. I've been helping a lot of people do that, and just I'm loving it. But I'm a man, so I'm really, really interested to dive into the female perspective. And just one of the things I want to talk to you about is, how does keto differ for the male body versus the female body, or what should women specifically be looking for if there's something, how it's going to impact them differently than the man?
Well, I mean, obviously the biggest difference between men and women are hormones, right? Yes. And so that's the big underlying reason why all of this has to be slightly modified for a woman. And what I've seen in, you know, it's just part of the keto community too, there's quite a bit of there's just a lot of naysayers almost that say that keto is not good for women. It's not good for your hormones. It doesn't work. It's going to cause you to lose your period, all this stuff. Right. And it's not true. However, it does take a different approach, I guess, to the ketogenic lifestyle, as opposed to a man who can literally just like one day be like, I'm going to go keto. And there you go. You're eating like 0 carbs and all fat and you're fine. And you feel great and you lose like 10 pounds in a day. So the women doesn't happen that way. It does not happen that way because we have to take into account those hormones, and they're just very sensitive. You know, our hormones are sensitive. They change every single day of the month, regardless of whether you're keto or not, or whether you're in menopause or not. Your hormones are changing every single day and fluctuating. And so the slightest thing that causes kind of like a stressor on our bodies, even if it's a good stress, but if, you know, we're women, and I mean, even men these days, we have a lot of stress in our lives, right? So putting your body into a stressful state as far as your diet goes, on top of the rest of everything else you have going on right now in your life that's stressful, which we all do, can, for a lot of women, throw you over the edge. And then it can cause almost more harm than good. It can cause a decrease in your health instead of an increase in your health. And so we just really have to work on making the ketogenic diet, making that transition, which is an amazing, really great place for your body to be once you're there. But that transition needs to be thought about a little bit deeper before you just go, oh, hey, I'm going to be keto tomorrow. So what I have found through working with hundreds of women now is that the approach of taking it a little bit slower. So if you go, even if you're eating like a quote unquote healthy diet or a paleo diet or whatever, obviously a SAD diet, no matter what, going to keto is going to be a shocker on the body because it's just different. Yeah. It's different than we've ever eaten. So if we make that approach, take like 3 to 4 weeks to get there. So you're kind of slowly altering those macronutrients a little bit, getting higher fat, finding out what your protein intake should be, and then getting lower in carbs in a slower rate, then it's not so stressful on the body. You've given your body the chance to be like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. This is what we're doing now. And it's not all in one day. So basically what we're trying to do is dampen down the effect, the stressor effect that could happen with that transition and often does, which is why it gets that bad rap that it shouldn't have. And then another thing that I see so often, and it just is like my thing, I just do not like it at all, is that people assume also when they go keto that they should also go low food. Like all of a sudden they're just like not eating at all. Yeah. Because somewhere in the keto sphere, you've heard that you should be fasting, you should be skipping breakfast, you should be skipping lunch. Sometimes you don't eat all day. And if you're a woman trying to heal something, which most of us are, whether you know it or not. If you're a woman, you may have hormonal imbalances you don't know about, thyroid imbalances, adrenal fatigue. There's a lot of things that can be going on in our female bodies that are trying to balance. Like I said, whether you even know it's there or not, then, not eating enough food and not nourishing your body is not going to make any of that better. So it's very hard to see women, make this keto transition and then just like stop eating because they think that they're supposed to not eat so that they can quote unquote burn fat on their bodies. And that's not how it works. It's not like one or the other type situation. So that's another thing that I really, really promote is actually nourishing your body while also being in a ketogenic state. It makes a world of difference and your body can actually heal. It's just like, it makes, it's so great. So those are my two big things. And then the third thing I think goes for men and women, although again, with women, we're again trying to keep the stress level low. So whatever we can do to just like keep our stress at a minimum compared to the rest of our lives, especially when it comes to diet. And that is making sure that you're not just eating low carb, but you're actually getting into this ketogenic state. Because if you're just eating low carb, like you might see some physical results as far as weight loss or whatever, but eventually you're going to have no energy. You're going to sleep like crap. You're going to miss your period. Your hormones are going to get out of whack. And it's because I call it low carb purgatory, where you're like eating low carb. So your body doesn't have the glucose that it's used to using as fuel. But also at the same time, you're not yet producing ketones. Right. So you don't have that other fuel source. So now you just have no fuel.
No fuel, yeah.
So you're just not going to feel good, right? So that can't last for that long. So make sure that you're not just taking out the carbs, but you're also increasing that fat intake, which is hard for a lot of people, especially the people that are coming straight to weight loss, and that's what they really, really need. They've been taught low fat, low fat, low fat for so long. We all have.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard to get that fat level up to where you need to be to produce ketones.
Yeah, I put out a couple of podcasts recently that touch on two of the points that you just talked about. One is the fat thing, where people that I put them on the diet, I coach them through it, and it seems like they kind of go through the whole day like trying keto, and they work up their macros like, my numbers didn't work out. Adam, how do I get all this fat in? Like, you got to eat some fat, you got to get over it. And really, so I did a podcast on my fat sources that I use, which was fun. But then also I talked about not fearing the calorie. So many people, I talked about, I told you about the boot camp I did in my hometown. We did 35,000 pounds just clean eating. I didn't have them track calories and things like that. But with keto, I feel like it is like you need to have just a basic idea of where your calories are at. You need to know where the macros are at for sure. So I started having people track, and I was having people, like you said, they just drop their calories so low. They're like, the lower the better. I'm eating 800 calories, Adam. I'm doing great. I'm like, no, you're not. You need to eat. So, and then I told them my maintenance level to maintain around 215 pounds body weight, I have to eat 4,000 calories a day, just to maintain on keto.
And doing keto, so a lot of that's fat.
Yes. Yeah, like 300 grams of fat. And so I started showing them what I eat. They're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so I definitely feel you on those 2 points. So are there any other common areas that or just little mistakes that you see people making, whether with their macros or their mindset with keto?
Well, I'm glad you brought up mindset, because I am a true believer that when you're coming to keto, because it's such a healing, just really amazing place for your body to be. I call it body homeostasis. Like, your body likes to be in ketosis. It's very safe. It's very comfortable. It's very easy. There's plenty of fuel. So there's no like freak out mode if there's not, if you haven't had a snack in like 3 hours. So, like, I really love it. Of course, it's great for the blood sugar and just healing so many things. But I think that people come to it still thinking about it as a diet and as the next quick fix. Like, I'm going to do keto for 30 days. Like, no, that's not how it should be.
Right.
Like, you should be going into it ready to heal your body, ready to see what your body can do and the changes that it will make when it's ready and healthy. But that might take some time. It's not going to be this 28-day plan where all of a sudden you've dropped 30 pounds. Like, no, you have to go through the process. Your body needs to do what it needs to do. And so I really prefer that people, women and men, go into this knowing it's going to be a lifestyle change and doing what you need to do to make that mentality work for you. So, I personally, I eat carbs. I eat carbs sometimes. It's not like this like terrible thing, right? I'm still alive. But for me, I'm the kind of person, and I have been, really up until transitioning to a ketogenic diet, I was always on a diet. I've been on a diet since I can remember. It's just like, that's how I grew up. It's just, I don't know. So to go from, and then I was in the fitness industry for a long time, and I was eating 1,200 calories a day and working out twice a day. It was just weird. It's terrible, not good for your body. But so now I'm actually in this place where I don't count anything. I eat enough food for my body and to energize my body, and I feel free. I have this food freedom that I've never, ever had before, because I was always on a diet. And I was always like, oh, it's noon, I'm supposed to eat chicken and broccoli.
Right.
So now I just I eat when I'm hungry. I stop when I'm full. I don't eat if I'm not hungry. It just really works out well. But I come from this place where if I say something is out of the question, like I can't eat carbs, all I want is carbs.
Right.
That's all you want.
Right.
If you go into the ketogenic diet thinking that carbs are the devil, you are more than likely not going to do so well, because you're going to have these cheats or whatever and totally go crazy on carbs.
Right.
Whereas for me, because I know that keto is my lifestyle now, like I plan to do this pretty much forever, then I know like I can occasionally have some carbs and it's fine. Like it keeps me from binging. It keeps me from having these cravings. I just kind of can play it by ear. I can see when my body feels like maybe it needs some carbs, or I'm like out with friends and I decide to have some sweet potato fries that they got, something like that. But just, I really like the mentality of lifestyle versus diet, because the diet is always going to have these rules, right? Whereas with a lifestyle, I mean, the rules are basically like eat enough fat to get into ketogenic space, lower your carbs enough to get into this ketogenic space. But there's just a lot of flexibility, I think, that can come with that when that's how you're living. That's your life. So I really I want people to wait to even try keto until they have that mentality.
Yeah, that makes sense. And one of the things that I wanted to pick your brain about was, one of the things I teach a lot is about finding that healthy lifestyle balance, that balance between your health and not feeling deprived, like you were talking about. And that's important. But I also believe it's important, like usually people's momentum is going in the wrong direction. People like you and I get a hold of them. They're gaining weight. They're unhappy. They're unhealthy. Like there's something going wrong, and they reach out for help. And I try to tell them and educate them like, okay, we have to stop the negative momentum. We may have to reverse a lot of our focus points where you feel kind of out of balance. Like you have to learn keto first. You have to dedicate getting your body into ketosis and being fat adapted. And then down the road, we start to shift that back to a balanced, healthy lifestyle balance. So obviously, people can't just go keto and then start going, well, I'm going to have sweet potato fries every other day, because that's not going to allow them to become fat adapted. So what's your recommendation on like a length of time? Like how long should they give it to really make that the new normal, become fat adapted before they start to mess with things a little bit and start to say, okay, I'm going to start reincorporating some carbs here and there? Or do you have any recommendations along those lines?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because of course I'm talking lifestyle. And so that would be, perhaps months down the road where this all happens. But yeah, I would say for me and for the women I work with, first of all, we take that time to slowly transition into a ketogenic diet. And from there, for women especially, it takes a little bit longer to truly get into ketosis and to produce that level of ketones that you want. So from there, it could be anywhere. So say that's a month to make the transition, and then another couple weeks potentially to see some ketone readings. And then I personally think that another month or so to be solidly producing ketones on a regular basis before you start kind of playing around with things. So maybe 2.5 months. It depends. Now that's a total caveat here, is that everyone's different, like especially with women. Oh my gosh, so different. Some people are like this, and some people take 6 months. So it's the total caveat. But what I would say is get your body into ketosis, find out what that is for you, like how your basically plates need to look in order for you to get into ketosis and produce those ketones, and then stay there for like that month situation before you start, playing around with, the lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like it's just, like you said, you have to establish that as the baseline, the new normal, and not, we just don't want to confuse our bodies, because that's not going to help anything. Right. And there, I think of those 2 to 3 months as this really like therapeutic time for your body, right? So you're doing some work. Like it's definitely not always the easiest transition for people, but you also start feeling those benefits of being ketosis, and it totally helps, because you're like, oh, okay, well now I sleep through the night and I wake up feeling amazing, and my workouts are awesome. So it makes it a little bit more tolerable to get through those. And then quite honestly, by the time those 2 to 3 months are up, like one of the best things is you kind of don't really have these cravings anymore. So you don't even really want carbohydrates. You don't want to like go binge on a whole cake. Right? Like I said, you might have a sweet potato at dinner once in a while and call it good. And that sweet potato becomes really sweet. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. Becomes dessert. Right. Now, one thing you mentioned earlier on was the menstrual cycle. So I know that I get a lot of questions along this line. And so if a female is becoming keto adapted, they're becoming fat adapted, and their menstrual cycle does get disrupted, what are your recommendations there? Yeah, well, if that's the case, first of all, you need to make sure you're eating enough food, and you need to make sure you're in ketosis. If you're not either one of those things, then you're in low carb purgatory, right? Which we talked about. Your body has no idea where to get its fuel source, so it's freaking out. And then second of all, if you're not eating enough food, then you're just hypocaloric and you're not fueling your body appropriately. And that's going to cause you to lose your period too, because it's a stressful event on your body. So again, the slightest amount of stress that happens amongst everything else we have going on will cause that disruption. Like clockwork. So you've got to figure that out. So I'd say those are the two things that need to happen for sure. However, I will say there are some cases where if you're coming into a ketogenic diet with some previous or already withstanding hormonal imbalance, then sometimes even though you're keto, you're eating enough food, you're producing ketones, you took that time to get into it a little slower, everything you're supposed to be doing as a woman, there will be a month or two that could be slightly disrupted. And it's more so because of
it's a healing reaction, essentially. Like your body's healing from that imbalance that was already there that you may not have even known was there. And then, after a month or two, you pick right back up and it's beautiful and amazing and you have no PMS and you're like, oh, I didn't know this is how it was supposed to be.
Amazing.
Like, oh, our bodies are really awesome, actually.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's super helpful. Now, I know you also have a lot of experience, both your own experience and working with obviously thousands of women. You've seen a lot of amazing things happen as far as transformations, but also just people healing themselves and, different issues that going keto has really been beneficial for. So I want to know if you could just dive into a few of those. Obviously, we're not like, diagnosing anybody or anything like that,
right.
The whole disclaimer thing. Mm-hmm. But what have you seen some healing success stories with people adapting to the keto lifestyle?
Yeah. I mean, so many different things, from simple things like just their sleep getting better. So they finally, after 20 years of not being able to sleep through the night or having insomnia, all of a sudden they're sleeping well. And I mean, that in itself is huge. So powerful, huge. Right? Yes. So simple things like that. But then also, going back to the hormone thing, just regulation of cycles. So if you had amenorrhea, which is not having your period at all, getting your period back, fertility concerns and becoming fertile and getting pregnant. I've had lots of that happen, which is crazy. And I just love hearing those stories. Issues with thyroid. Your thyroid can actually improve quite a bit too, especially if you're a hypothyroid. It can pop back up, which is awesome. Adrenal situations. So if you have low cortisol or high cortisol or just imbalanced cortisol throughout the day, that becomes really nice and balanced over time too. And even like gut issues, like bloating and constipation and diarrhea and just these things that we think we just have to deal with. First of all, don't deal with them. Find out what's going on in your gut. But that's just the practitioner and me talking. But also just going keto really has some great effects on your gut health too. And so I've seen really good cases where that has been resolved. Those symptoms have been resolved as well. But of course, there's always too the improvements in weight. If you're someone that needs to lose or gain weight for that matter, what I find and what I really promote with keto is that when you approach it as this healing protocol that I'm telling you it is. If you approach it with that and take some of that stress off of needing to lose weight immediately, then what happens is your body just gets really nice and balanced. And this is women specifically too, because men seem to have an easier time with this. But when you just take that time to really get your body in this homeostasis, feeling really good, tons of energy, so you're working out harder and, all this stuff, once you get that, then your body heals, and it heals the reason why you may have some excess weight. And then it becomes very natural to have this weight loss. So I think kind of a misconception in the keto community is that like you go keto and then literally the next week you're down 30 pounds. Like there's a lot of these stories and I don't know where they come from. And a lot of them are men, and then women read them and they think it's going to happen to them.
And then they get mad.
And it doesn't. It's not how it goes. So, taking this kind of long-term approach again, but, there's a lot of women that I've worked with that now, 6-8 months down the road of being keto, adapted and having that lifestyle. Now they're seeing those results. Right. But it takes a little bit longer because there is always going to be that underlying reason as to why you are holding on to weight. And, I know you probably see this a lot. There's so many women that deal with weight loss resistance where it's like, I've done this. It's like you've done every single thing you can think of and it's not budging.
Right.
Even keto. You even go keto and you're like, and it's still not working. Nothing is ever going to work, but you just need more time. You just need more time. You need that patience, which is really, really hard. I totally get it. I was in the same place. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I gained about 35 pounds in 8 months. And, it took about a year to get that off of being keto. So, it takes a while, and I had a lot to heal. I had a lot going on in my body. So I just had to be patient. I just had to make sure that I was working on my health status and know that was going to come as soon as everything was balanced out. So it's a little, just disclaimer that weight loss is totally a thing, but it may not happen for you right away.
Right. And I see so many people that stress out about not losing weight, and that stress is part of the reason why they're not losing weight. They're not there yet. They get pissed about it.
Yes. And they like beat themselves up and then they talk negatively to themselves. And it's like, none of that is helping the situation.
No. And they don't want to hear it. Unfortunately, they don't want to hear it at that time either. They're like, I'm like, you're stressing yourself out. It's not helping. What do you mean?
Yeah. And then they get even more worked up.
Yeah. So I also want to specifically ask you about if you have any experience or advice if somebody is dealing with cancer or chemotherapy. I've heard a lot of interesting things. Dr. Dom D'Agostino, I've heard a lot of his stuff. Do you have any experience with like keto protocols or how it should be adjusted if somebody's going through chemotherapy?
I don't personally, but I do also have those stories. And I think that it's a really great adjunct to whatever you are already doing with your doctor. So, going ketogenic, there are so many really great success stories out there for cancer patients. And really, I mean, in my opinion, this is totally just my opinion. At that point, I can't really see a reason not to try.
Right.
So that's kind of my thought process on it. I mean, you're not going to be doing any more damage than if you were eating carbs, right? Because carbs aren't really healing in any case, right? So I think it definitely would be a case where, you might as well try. And I do have several clients that are, in remission and now using that just to help heal their body and get their body back to where it was. So I think that's a really good situation too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting information out there with keto. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Keto and everything.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a few rapid fire questions that I wanted to ask you just to pick your brain. All right. So these are just me firing questions. The answers can be as long as you want. All right. Don't worry about that.
Good. Because I get really nervous when I have to answer in 3 words.
Half a word. Answer in half a word, Shawn. Favorite go-to keto meal. What does that look like for you?
Usually it's like a burger or some steak, some big piece of meat with either, if it's a burger, I love making my homemade mayo. So I just smother it with mayo. It's so good. That's how you get your fats. And then a giant plate of vegetables. So I'm all about nutrient dense keto. I eat more vegetables than I ever have. And because then I can put butter, ghee, ranch dressing. If it's a big salad, I make my own ranch dressing too. So I just give me a giant plate of veggies with a giant piece of meat and I'm happy.
That's awesome. So are you counting carbs from vegetables? Do you recommend that? Or because I know people go both directions on that.
I personally don't. I don't really count anything at this point because I've got it pretty dialed in. But I to some degree, yes, because there's going to be things like carrots or whatever that do have a little bit of carb that add up, but not maniacally.
Right.
And not to the point where it's like, oh, I can't have veggies because there's going to be carbs, because we need those micronutrients. And so I don't want people thinking that they shouldn't be eating vegetables.
Right.
It's the wrong way to go.
Right. I want to make a clarification on the burger. I assume you're not having a bun on the burger. That's just meat.
Oh, yes, of course. Right. I haven't had a bun on a burger in, God, I don't even know how long, 8 years probably. So yes, sometimes I do lettuce wrap it. So I might lettuce wrap it, or a lot of times I just turn it into a salad, burger salad. Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Definitely no bun.
That's what, I knew people would have, she's eating burgers. Awesome. We have to be very clear because they'll get confused.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Now, second question. I know you are active out there in Boulder. I have relatives that live out there, and it seems like people are just into fitness and hiking, and it's an awesome place to be.
Yes.
So what is your favorite workout? What's your jam as far as if you have to do one workout style or one lift or one style of working out, what would that be?
I really like heavy lifting. So I've done a powerlifting competition in the past. Yeah. And you give me a barbell and I'm a happy girl. So, and then put a bunch of weight on there too, and I'll see if I can do it.
Nice.
So I like squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, presses. Yeah. All of it.
Nice. I'm a former powerlifting competitor also.
Nice.
I actually met my wife. It was in the last competition I did. I had to deadlift 688 pounds to hit an 1,800 total. And I completely blew out my hamstring and groin as I was doing it.
and my wife did my physical therapy, and then we got married.
Oh, wow. Well, look at that. It was meant to be.
I don't think I've ever told that story on my show.
I love
before.
that.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing things happen when you're a powerlifter. I'm just saying.
I will say I do have to make a little bit of a caveat though. I also almost just as much enjoy hiking and whatever. That's just why I live in Boulders, because of the outdoors. So I'm a total gym rat, but then I'm also a mountain girl. Nice. If I can have both.
That's perfect. That's perfect mix. Perfect mix. What is the favorite part about what you do for a living?
Empowering people. Like, I love seeing people, because I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but I can empower you to figure out what you need to do. And that's what I really love. I don't bark orders or anything like that, but to see these women making huge changes in their health and their lives and like their relationships and just everything that changes when you are healthy, to see them doing that and being empowered to do that on their own and make those choices. Oh, it's just the best thing in the world.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. That's fantastic. Now, I know that you've inspired my audience with what we've talked about so far, and they're going to want more. All right, because we've just touched on a few brief things, and you've got an awesome podcast. You've got an awesome website. What's the best way to follow your story and get connected with you and dive a little bit deeper with your information?
Yeah, definitely. The podcast is I'm just an open book and I talk all the time, every week. So Keto For Women Show, anywhere you listen to podcasts, it's pretty much everywhere. And then, my website, ShawnMynar.com. I do have a class that I do for women about keto. That's really great. And I'm also really active on social media. So Instagram or Facebook at Shawn Mynar Health. You can kind of get a sneak peek into my everyday life there too.
Yeah. That's always fun with the social, to get to dive a little deeper. Because with the podcast, what I've found is sometimes it's like screaming into a cave. You're not really sure anybody's hearing it until you get on social and you start to interact, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And you get responses like, oh, people are listening.
Wow. That's neat.
Amazing.
Someone heard me. So I will link up all of your pertinent information in the show notes and in my blog to make sure that people can get connected with you. And I've got one final question for you. All right. And I like to ask a question along these lines with pretty much every guest. So let's assume that somebody is out there listening that is maybe they're a little bit frustrated with their health situation. Maybe they've tried a few different nutrition plans and haven't seen success, or maybe they're just dealing with a lot of the health issues that you see pop up or that you've experienced and feeling just kind of down about that. What type of advice would you, if you could sit that person down and look them in the eye and tell them one or two things, a little bit of advice, what would that look like for you?
Well, I think the biggest message that I have figured out for myself, and now I constantly am reminding those that I work with, is that your body wants to be well. More than you do. Your body wants to be balanced and healthy and at a healthy weight and strong and fit and all those things that you want it to be. Your body also wants that too. And it's working every moment of every day to get there. But you have to get out of its way sometimes. So, sometimes it's like we're overthinking all of this, and then it becomes, almost to a negative degree. And so just remember that you have the power to listen to your body and do what you need to do to be well, but it's telling you, it's giving you the signs, it's giving you the signals, it's telling you what's up. So I just say, really keep that in mind. I think it's really empowering to know that your body wants that and it's not fighting against you as much as you think that it is. But also some of that might be that you just need to dig a little deeper. So again, with that empowerment, you have the ability and you have the power to find out what's going on in your body. I mean, you may have to go see a practitioner that you're not used to seeing, like a naturopath or nutritionist or integrative person, but you can find out more information about your body, and that information is life-changing. It will really open so many doors to you to find out what's going on internally for you to get to that root cause. So
that's amazing advice there, Shawn. I think if somebody can just apply that one thing, listen to your body, and then dive a little bit deeper, and let's take some action. And that's what I'm all about with our show, everybody. You know that I'm big on this not just being entertainment. I want you to be entertained, all right? But I want you to take action and apply this. So, Shawn, I appreciate you so much. I know that you're super busy. You've got a lot going on. And I just appreciate you taking some time to drop some knowledge and bring the female perspective and just an expert perspective in general, male, female, whatever, on the ketogenic diet. And I appreciate you opening up and sharing your story as well, because I know that that's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's making a difference. I want you to know that, my friend. So,
well, thank you so much for having me. It was really, really fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So everybody out there, you know how I roll. I want you to take at least one nugget of knowledge that Shawn dropped on us here, and I want you to take action on it in the next 24 hours. So don't just sit idly by and say, oh, that sounded cool, I might try keto someday. What is one thing? Maybe it's just you've had some sort of issue going on over the last few months and you want to dive a little bit deeper and understand what's going on with your body. Or maybe it is trying keto, or maybe it's going on her website and trying her course. All right. So there's all sorts of options there. But I want you to take action in the next 24 hours. And that is how we get out there. That's how we own it. Every meal, every workout, every day. I'll see you on the next episode.
Hey, I've got one quick question before you take off, everybody. Are you ready to donate some weight loss to the Million Pound Mission? I thought so. So I've got a quick 2-step process to make that happen, my friends. First, just head on over to the millionpoundmission.com website, millionpoundmission.com, and grab a free copy of my #1 tool, the Transformation Battle Plan Workbook. Now, this will help you set up your battle plan for the next 28 days of your transformation process. Now, once you complete your 28 days, then come back to the website, millionpoundmission.com, and donate your weight loss and contribute to our Million Pound Mission. So let's do this.